right, all you devils, how we doing today? Sam here with you. It's the 21st of June on a Friday. What an amazing time to be a crypto trader. Wow, just remarkable here. So we sit on the high here, 98.61. Wouldn't it be interesting if we were to, I don't know if we're going to break 10K while I'm recording here, but at this rate, we damn near might. So a couple things to review here. Now we'll get into the subdivision in a second, but I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on a couple of things. So one, last couple of videos, I've left the count out coming down and had some comments about that. We've been through it so many times. I didn't think we needed to keep visiting it, but it's just to be clear. So I have us coming down as the WXYXZ to finish down here, but really, right. So I've been a bull since 3,200, but not because of any particular insight I had into forecasting the future or fundamental analysis. It was really as rudimentary as anything that we teach, right? It's just as basic as it can be. Right, so from the swing low, we go to the 50. We know that's an algorithm is kicking in there, and it goes right to target. That was not a very bold call. Yet, boy, there was no shortage of bears that were absolutely sure that was going down. Again, it wasn't a particularly difficult call to make. Just the basics. So now with that in play, so we know we have a technical pivot up here since algorithm used it previously. So we want to pay attention to that. Well, now note here. So let me do it this way. So let me just wick that off because that's an important pivot for at least at this moment in time as we are going through. So just make this point, right? So we have an internal, whatever we're doing here is internal to this high to low. So we're still making an internal retracement. We don't go external till we break the pivot. So we got to keep that in mind. This is, I catch myself. Like it seems unlikely we're just going to keep going here, right? But that seems, is it possible? Yeah, I guess it's possible, but it seems improbable that there's not going to be some retracement here. So we want to be thinking about where we're likely to run into some resistance. Now, we have done this repeatedly, right? So we started at this X level here. So as we went down to the low here, as we came to that when we broke that 65, well, got to go back one. All right, we broke that one. Oh, got to go back one. Broke that one. All right, we're just continue, right? The strength of the market, we're back and back and back until we hit the last technical pivot that we know an algorithm used, and look what we're about to run into, right? The larger degree 50, which is going to put us right here, so we're 10,150, so right close enough to that psychological number which we know, right? So everybody's looking at it. It seems a foregone conclusion that we're going to get there. I mean, we're 9,900 as I'm recording. So is that the resistance? Well, you can make a pretty good case for it. So note here, there's a few spots here where, this prior resistance up here, just kind of including these little wicks. And we got the same thing up here, right? You see all of this up here. Right, so that's likely to be some resistance, right? We know there'll be software. We're looking to sell there, right? So right when you're here, you're going, oh, come on, man. So that was Bitcoin at 11.8, and you're looking at that. I remember doing it. I remember recording those videos saying, well, the algo's target is down here at 3,200. It seems unlikely, yet that's right where we go, right? So this one has got a target down here at 0. Well, actually, negative 170. So, right, bears, there you go, right? There's your bear point, right? So we're going to 0. All right, that's about as much bearish material as I'm going to give you today. Okay, so that is likely to be some resistance here, but the big daddy's up here, right? That's the all the way, right? So here's our 50, but here's where we get clear skies, 14,000, right? No resistance above that. So we got to pay attention to those. Now, coming off of this, we've had to adjust the count repeatedly, which is, in some respects, it's a testament to how adaptable Elliott Wave is here. Right? So as counts get invalidated and you have to revisit, amazingly, there's always a count. As the market reveals more information, right? We can always find the count, the most probable count. So this is going to be my primary, and this is an adjustment based on the last video we did last Friday to accommodate this ongoing rip. So I think that's everything we need to cover there. Yeah, I think that covers. So let me go down. Let's go to an 8 hour here. Pop this up. All right, so a lot of back and forth with my senseis who are, really, really, really skilled Elliottians, and I think this is our agreed upon count here. Seems to be the cleanest count. And again, it's a little cleaner here on the longer degree. So when you're down here on the hourly, right? This just seems like, oh shit, man! Look at this volatility. What am I doing with this rip? What am I doing with the big sell-off? Right? It's very hard to get clarity when you're down on these lower levels here. So it's when you're in doubt and you're like, what the hell am I going to call this? It's always better to go out to the daily and just start working in big picture. What can I see here? What's the simplest thing that I can spot? Well, this would be, if you're looking at it today for the first time, if you brought up Bitcoin for the first time today, right, without all of the influence of trying to deal with the market on the way up and trying to anticipate what we had, this would be the simplest count that you might put up here, just looking at what's here. So let's go back to that 8 hour. So off of the low, I think the 1-2, right, that we've been solid on that for quite some time. And the question repeatedly has been, are we still going? Is there a 2 in here somewhere that would allow, this was the big sell-off that was a candidate. So one of the thoughts was the depth here might be a candidate because we could finish here. This could have been a shallow 2, but just as we keep ripping, it just seems less and less likely. So I think we've got to stay with the idea that this big move, this move here to, what was our pivot there? 9,059. That remains our 3. Now, if we look at the Elliott oscillator here, there's some, traditional Elliott tool we might use here to try and identify wave 3 to 5. So this being the peak here at for the 3 to the 5. It seems pretty textbook, right? So here, 3, we get divergence here. We get a new high. Oscillator doesn't go with it. This is a reasonable contender for the pivot of something, right? So 3, 4, 5 of something goes in there. And then it's a relatively clean. Now the subdivision's a little tricky, but the ABC at the larger degree here is pretty easy to spot. But now it's going to create a shallow 4 relative to the 3, but it's not, it's technical between the 23 and the 38, right where you're expecting it. Subdivision is all there. I can clearly get an impulse in that third. I got to allow for a tiny little 4, but it's an ABC. And then I've got an impulse coming up here. Maybe 4 hour, we can get in there a little bit more. Got a nice little, I should have labeled this. We got a nice little ABC here. That little ABC seems pretty solid. Let's go down a degree. And then I've got my impulse here to give me the pivot up here for the 5 of the larger degree third. Now ABC for the 4. Right, always easier once you've got all this information. So now it's like, what was so difficult? Right, always easier after the fact. So we come up here now. We're running into this. We know the 50 is going to be right here. We've got an algo target up here at 10.4. Well, I'll call it 10,450-ish rounding. Right? So this 5 that we seem to be in, pretty reasonable. Now, we got to pay attention to the time here. Length of the 1 relative to the 5 doesn't seem terribly askew. The 4 to the 2. It's not unreasonable. This was pretty straightforward here for the ABC. So if you're, again, kind of back to where I started, if you're bringing this up today for the first time, that's how I'd count it. Right? It's the simplest thing that's in front of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going up for the 5. Now, you can't eliminate the possibility here, if this is Bitcoin, it can't eliminate the possibility that 5 is going to be much higher. And this is just the 1 of the 5th. Right? When you look at the length of time of the 3rd, that is a very strong contender that this is just, right? So if you look at it this way, so look at the length of the time of the 3rd. Now, so you look at the 1 to the 5, that symmetry seems reasonable. But if the 3 to the 5, very short. So it's a bit of a, we have to hurry up. We'll have to wait and see. So something is likely about to complete here. So if this is the 1, well, this will be the tell, right? So we can use even to the 786. If we start a retrace here, now, so perhaps we hit 10,000 and change, and that's enough of a, for those that were buyers down here along the way, that's enough of a profit where you get some some of all sizes, right? From whales to, you just bought one or a fraction of one. That's a reasonable spot if you've been a buyer along the way. That's psychologically we're likely to bump into that and hit a little bit of selling resistance. We're also right at the 50. So you got a lot of reasons to think that whatever is happening here, there's a reasonable expectation that we're completing an impulse at this degree. Now, I'm not calling the top. I don't know that we're done here. But if you just look at it, it seems like, right, the subdivision's very, very clean, right? So we got this skinny little 4 up to the 5 here. So I would say we're fairly close to reaching something that might create some degree of a sell-off. Now, how deep it is, right, will be the tell, right? Do we do this and then keep going? Well, then we know clearly if we break this high, we know we've done the 1-2 of the 5th, and the 5th. So here we can use golden zone. We can nothing says we can't break that. So heading up here, right? If that's the 1-2, my guess is we're going even higher because that would likely be the 3. So we'd have at the next degree we'd have it this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that's kind of let's go to minuet. Okay, so 1 seems pretty reasonable here. We don't have the pivot high just yet. Right? When we get that pivot and we start a little sell-off, this will be the tell as to where we are along the way. Right? 1, 2. At this rate, I'm more inclined to think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So that's me being uber bullish again, but that would put us up here at 14,000. Remember, that's the largest from the pivot high, from the absolute all-time high to our low down here at 3160. That 14K is the golden zone. So this would not surprise me at all that we're going to do that. So does that create a buying opportunity? Well, certainly I would say high risk to be a buyer right here. Right? So now we've said that along the way. But you're buying, you'd be buying right into the 50 from that prior pivot. I think you got to do that cautiously, perhaps without a large amount of size here, because the potential is that you get at least some selling resistance there. So I'd be cautious about being a buyer up here. Now, of course, right, so nothing says he couldn't just continue to rip, right? There is, right, we've been thinking of likely some sort of sell-off. It just hadn't happened. So we could just continue to rip here. So I'm not trying to pick the top here. I'm just saying in terms of the next buying opportunity, I'm going to need to see a little bit of a sell-off, right? You got to put it on sale for me, just a little bit. All right, give me at least in this swing, this area will be what I'm watching. So I'm not adding up here. I haven't sold any along the way. I think that this would be your next opportunity to be a buyer on the idea that we're just in the 1 wave of the 5th. Seems the easiest thing to spot, right? The easiest trade that's right there. But you got to be disciplined about that stop. So if it's coming down here and you're going to nibble at the 50, full-size meal at the golden zone, well, what would we have, right? Of course, we know potentially now we could get another golden corner. So look, now here's our shorthand for the 3, 4, come down for the 5, stay in that set of median lines. Back up for the 5 up here. That could put us, it's all pretty. Now let's look at the context if we were to get that, right? So that would be, that's bull porn, right? So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, big swing in the 5. Now, is that unrealistic? Well, let's think about it. So if we're gonna go, that's gonna be a big kick. So if we're gonna go from the 1 and we've got the 4, we're already past. Well, take note here, right? So this is worth noting here. So look where the 2618, the length of the 1 projected from the proposed 4, that puts the 2618 right on top of this algo target. So that's 10,446. But then, oh shit, let's see, can I do it? Can I do it in the 8? Let me see. Yeah, I think I can. So let's pay attention to this. So down to the low. Okay, now let's go in there and look at it. Okay, so let's go back to the 4. I know that's a lot of lines. I know that's hard to see. All right, let me open this up. Okay, so let's get this out of here. Okay, how are we doing here? There's right on the high. So if that's going to be 1, 2, well, here's the algo target. Here's the 2618 right up here. So you've got this confluence zone right here. So here's the 50 from that pivot. If we're going to continue to roll up here, this would be the next place you'd be looking. You could anticipate some resistance here. So if this has got more legs, right? What's that? 10,183. Expect a little bump there. That's going to be some resistance. But if we can get through it, now you're looking at 10,445. Nice little confluence here from the 2618, the algo target. Oh, just out of curiosity, let's look here. So we can do the same thing. Let's get that out of here. So if let's get this one off too. So if we take the length of let's see how that would look. The length of the one here, the proposed one, right? We've got a very deep 2. So if we take that off of the proposed 4, well, you might fatten this up a little bit. So we'd have the 2618 at that degree sitting on top of this little range here. So this 10,004 to 10,065, that's going to be an extreme if this impulse is correctly identified, and we're going to have legs beyond the 50. That's the next area that I'd be looking. But again, all you're doing is looking for this, right? And now at the next degree. So we can pull that off. So if that keeps going, then now you're looking at this. And so we'd still have the potential for that corner pocket, right? If we're going to get that high, now you're looking for something like this and shooting up here, now looking for something along those lines for the 3, right? Here's your golden zone at the next degree, which we've already marked out relative to that pivot. So if it's going to keep going, right? So remember where we are here, right? That would be right, the golden zone from that pivot, right? If we're going to get through the 50, and how are we going to do it? So if we're going to get through it, likely, so that's why I think the retrace here is reasonable to be looking for. Now, if we don't get through the 50, no problem. This whole thing slides down. If we do, that's the next area to look for, anticipation of some sort of retrace, profit taking, some news event, whatever it is. You'd be looking down here around 8,900. Looking to buy into the 3rd of the 5th of the 1. Off the low. That's what I see here. I sure as hell would not be looking to be a seller up here. I mean, sellers along the way here, you know, sure, scalpers, short-term stuff, there have been some opportunities here, but swing traders are just getting eaten alive, right? Just killed trying to short this, right? So why would you? Trend is your friend, right? It's trading 101. Why would you want to try and pick that turn? Now, if you got something, right, that came substantial, and then you had a retrace, and you were trying to trade the B into the C, I wouldn't do it, but have at it, right? I mean, it's certainly technically valid, but at least wait for a lower high, and then for that to start to come down. But keep in mind, well, shit, let me clean this up. That looks a lot like. All right, so if we come up here and we start, and you're trying to get the B into the C, I sure as hell wouldn't try and pick the top and try and trade the A. But if you wanted to go after the B into the C, at least you've got a lower high here. Break this, now you got a lower low. That's not unreasonable. At least you'd have that. At least you'd have something you could put together in terms of a trade that had some structure, that made sense with the Elliott count. You know, again, it's I wouldn't trade it, but you know, shit, right? Just because I wouldn't do it doesn't mean you shouldn't. It's just, why fight this? I'm looking for the next opportunity to be a buyer, not a seller. I'm not trying to pick the turn here. Why try? At least you get something like this. So then you got a clear point where if it starts to break, you know exactly where you're wrong, right? It gets invalidated because remember, what I was trying to show you. Pull this off here. If you think, oh, okay, here comes there's the A, I got a B, here we go. Well, that sure looks a lot like a 1-2, right? So you got to keep that in mind, right? So this sure could turn into that. Now, here's where some Elliott can be helpful. If you really are leaning into that, well, if you had 5 and then 3, that's going to look a lot better, right? So you'll have more confidence in taking the sell up here, looking for the 5 down. But if it stalls, all right, be careful, right? So again, the trend is your friend here. So doing something like that, just be disciplined about the money management. You're fighting the trend, so you're trying to get something counter to what it just is a remarkable trend. So if you're just dying to short it because you just for whatever reason you just think it's gotta pull it back, it's gotta sell off. What is the famous statement that was it? Greenspan, I think, said markets can stay irrational far longer than you can stay capitalized enough to sustain that. I don't see any reason to do it other than if you had a perfect 5-3, maybe you take it. But boy, I would be very disciplined on the stop. Right now, we are just potentially at the start of what could be one of the great bull markets of all time. I am not saying that lightly. If this is the one wave, guys, and we're going to hit the pivot of the one at 14,000, where are we going? Right? You want to be fighting that on the way up? God damn, I sure as hell don't. I just want to get on board. I just want to look for places to add. That's me. Okay, guys, there you go. At least you have plenty to chew on there. Sell it at your own risk. Right? I say look for the buy side. All right, there you go. All right, guys, back to you later.